with Mr. Gary Cardone. Glad to have him here on the show. Gary also appeared in Money Disrupted, and it was a really cool opportunity to come down to Florida to talk with you, Gary. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't address the elephant in the room that the markets are taking a giant dump over the last 4 or 5 days. And so I'd love to have you here and kind of talk to me about what you're seeing out there with basically all the regular markets down. Gold, silver are down, Bitcoin's down, all altcoins are down, regular stock market's sort of even or whatever. I mean, what do you see happening out here?
Well, it's chaos, mayhem. I mean, look, to me, Friday, the Epstein files came out, silver and gold dumped very, very hard. You had a Bitcoin dump on Saturday. This all seems very convenient. Not a lot of good news, so not surprising. I'd just like to congratulate Jamie Dimon, Bob Iger, Peter Mandelson, Gordon Brown, all you awesome leaders who have just destroyed your careers. All these early retirements and accidents and illnesses that are popping up. It seems very convenient tied to the Epstein folder. Just for anybody that's young, this is what it costs to become king of kings. And then this is what happens when you get discovered for being a parasite. So, I mean, can you imagine spending 40 years of your life being a great banker only to go out at the end of the day as just being a complete, degenerate human being? What an embarrassment. I think this is going to impact a lot of companies. I don't see how Disney dropped some ridiculous amount the other day. This is all you have board members that are going to have to walk away from their advisory roles. This thing is not anywhere close to stop the contagion, right? I mean, you can't be associated with some of these people over and over and over again and not know what was going on. I mean, you cannot. I think the amount of collateral damage that's going to come out of this. Can you imagine the amount of families that have been destroyed this weekend from a lie that's just coming out? The lawsuits that are going to follow, the class actions that are going to follow.
Right. So you're mentioning Disney specifically. Disney stock looks like it's down 7% today. What is going on with that? I mean, there's obviously the Epstein files are all expansive. They go in many different directions, but I saw a couple of Epstein pieces on that. But yeah, Disney's down 7% today. What line of thinking what's your thought about that?
Well, I mean, to me, we don't really have clarity on the whole P. Diddy thing. Hollywood most certainly is involved in all of this. A good 20% of the people that are named in there are Hollywood execs. There's a whole lot of names that aren't mentioned that I think people were expecting to be mentioned. Now, my hope is that it's because some of those people have lawsuits pending that we don't know about yet. Look, I just think it's going to be very difficult for any companies that were involved in manufacturing and organized racketeering. Okay, there's a term for this called RICO, racketeering, organized criminal activities, right, that commit felons. There is no, what's it called, duration. Like if you do RICO, there's no
statute of limitations.
No statute of limitations. So I just think that we're just moving into discovery right now. I think this is promising. Because once you open this Pandora's box, I think the ramifications. I mean, if you're Melinda Gates right now, congratulations to Bill Gates too. Awesome job, dude. Really spectacular career end for you. But if you're Melinda Gates, how long are you going to tolerate being made fun of for your husband tried to slip you a cocktail so you didn't know, you wouldn't discover he'd given you a sexual transmitted disease?
I know.
right?
Unbelievable.
This is like Microsoft's off 20%.
Right.
So you got board members that, come on, dude, there's emails all over the place. So I think that we're just starting this, and it's going to be a wake-up call for America, how immoral we have become. Funny enough, the person that wasn't mentioned, Vladimir Putin, not anywhere in the Epstein files. His name doesn't come up one time. Isn't that interesting? People should be looking at, hey, who's not on that list? But I don't think you can have people in industries that were doing this as a, assisted, organized activity. People had to know what was going on, and just to turn your eye and say, oh, I didn't know anything about that. One, you're going to feel guilty forever. So the information we're going to get and the discovery we're going to get, I think it just comes out forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just like the second mega drop, right? We have like several mega drops planned. I don't know what the schedule is, but it's like you almost have to brace yourself for market conditions every time one of these comes out. Yeah, I did read through the Microsoft period where the whole Bill Gates, slipping his wife antibiotics so that she wouldn't get whatever STD he had. That's massively embarrassing and insane. And yeah, I think this is a career end for a lot of people. And to your point about Putin, I mean, the early analysis I'm seeing is, Putin comes from a different chain, right? Because ultimately what I saw in the Epstein files was this guy, it's obvious to all of us that obviously this guy was placed into a position to be a fixer of sorts by the most powerful families, right? And he literally has, I went and looked at the keyword on justice.gov, Rothschild, and there are a lot of references. And one of those references I posted last night, which is, as you know, I'm representing the Rothschilds. And then I looked at that keyword and saw lots and lots of meetings between Epstein and the Rothschilds, lunches, different types of events where they were there talking about them. So as it relates to Putin, what's your thought here? Is this kind of like the bigger picture of the, I don't want to say Illuminati, but basically the most powerful families that control this market and control everything else? Is this sort of 1 degree from that? And we're seeing the disclosure of what that system is, because obviously Epstein was, mixing with the most powerful people on earth and was put there by somebody of power. So what's your thought about all of that?
Yeah, look, for me, it's all speculation, right? I don't run in these circles. I think I've been invited to parties before that I did not feel comfortable going to. I have been to parties before where things went on and I'm like, yeah, I won't be coming back to this. I think, had I been invited to the Epstein Island and for whatever reason gone, for me to go back twice, that would be the indicator. For me, I'm not going to judge anybody if they're doing something for one time, but once somebody's got stink all over them and you continue to email them and talk to them and try to do business with them, I mean, I don't have much sympathy at that point, because that's just crazy, right? That means you will do anything to advance your career. I do think there's a lot of people out there that will do anything to advance their career, especially if they may have been caught in a compromised position and they want to protect their family, they want to protect their name, whatever. But, I like the transparency. I think the sunlight's awesome. And we'll get beyond this, right? But it feels very Me Too-ish right now. It feels very similar to, I think people are getting to a point where they're going to go, hey, this is gone now too far. Hollywood needs, the reason I brought Disney up, I think we'll find Disney, Hollywood, the music industry, the whole Diddy thing, that has to get discovered. It's no less than the Epstein thing. It's another exact play. If I was running something and trying to control a great nation, this is the way I would do it. Like, this is the easiest thing in the world to do. Drugs, money, and sex. I mean, and then you control people. And then you have to be very evil to do this. And maybe humanity's not really willing to really look at the evil in this world, but you have to wake up. This is all Anglo-Dutch. The Brits, dude, are going to get just, I mean, they could lose their monarchy over this. I really believe this, okay? They could lose their monarchy. Like Peter Mandelson's going down. Gordon Brown's going to be, he's going to go down as a rapist of children. Gordon Brown, man. He ran, he's the guy with the little red suitcase coming out of Treasury for the United Kingdom. So I think we're going to see, this is all tied back to the Anglo-Dutch. We have, that whole group over there does not want America to be great. And they've mismanaged the entirety of Europe. And I think they've mismanaged actually their control in the world. This has just gone too far. This is what psychopaths do, man. And this is one of the reasons that I came to Bitcoin, because, you just don't have to look too far around the world to figure out, wow, what is going on here? There are only big companies. We were talking earlier about the lack of competition. People talk about a free market. I have not lived in a free market in 30 years. It's a complete and utter lie that America is a free market enterprise. Facebook and Google own 72% of all the social media traffic. I can't keep an account up with Google, with Facebook, because I think Zuckerberg is a complete parasite to humanity. And I say that, and of course, wow, amazing. I can't get an Instagram account. Quite frankly, I don't want one because I don't think they're good for, it's good for the world anyway.
Right.
But Visa, MasterCard owns 72% of the credit card market. You got 3 banks that control all the bank deposits. You got 3 or 4 energy companies around the world. Energy, funny enough, is the best market in the world, the least controlled of any. It actually works. And I can prove that. You got nat gas prices down 25% today. Crude oil can't hit 70 for the life of it. Yet gold and silver have just done something never done before.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Based on silver, the oil price should be 3 times what it is right now. It should be $180 based on a correlation between silver and crude oil and historical patterns. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. So, you got the silver and gold markets that have been manipulated for decades. We know that to be a fact because we have major banks like JP Morgan Chase paying billions in fees and fines. It seems like really we don't even have competition in our regulators. You have the FTC, the DOJ, both who had independent commissions done, and they both, you guys are capricious. The SEC went under a similar study, and they were all found to be abusive, overusing their power, making up rules, picking winners and losers. And this is the state of regulation we have, right? We have regulators that love big pharma. Okay, we have 3 big pharma companies. I mean, you can name them, right? And gosh, they're all involved in COVID. Funny that. So, I mean, to me, the best news that's happened in the last 2 weeks is that we removed ourselves from the World Health Organization. And no one's talking about that. I think that's a big deal, dude. That would never happen under any other president. Similar to us removing ourselves from the Green Initiative around the world in Trump's first deal. Remember, he said, "Hey, I'm out of this."
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm an energy guy, dude. I know more about energy than most people. And I was like, hey, that is so cool for us pulling out of that. China produces 1 coal-fired power station a week.
Yeah.
To the environment. A week, man. That's 54 400 megawatt coal-fired power stations a year. And you guys want to join a green club committee? That is outrageous. So I love Trump pulling out of some of these. We should pull out of NATO also. Okay. NATO is basically, the problem or one of the problems. Don't see what role NATO plays for America. And we should just remove ourselves. We would see so little war if we remove NATO. Now, I'm not sure what the Europeans would do. They would probably go spastic.
Yeah.
They'll create their own little armies with none of the money they can print.
Yeah. They most likely probably go over to China, or Europeans would just find another ally to connect with. Let me go back to one thing you said. Let me show a clip of you from the documentary talking about the fact that we don't actually live in a free market. And I think that as these Epstein files come out, it really more or less proves that what we all know is that we live in a manipulated, crony capitalistic society, and that there are major players, behind the scenes to do this stuff. So let me show a clip of you talking about that very topic.
I believe in individual capitalism. I don't believe in bailing out the banks, bailing out General Motors. We bailed General Motors out. You want to know why we bailed them out? Because they made a shitty car, right? But if you open up a pizza parlor down the corner from here and you make a shitty pizza, I bet you go out of business.
Having the problems we're having, we do not have free markets. Like, you guys are all 40 years or younger, and you've never lived in a free marketplace. It is a lie. It is a total lie that America is a capitalist free marketplace. Google and Facebook own 72% of all the social media. Visa, MasterCard own 72% of all the credit card processing. It took them 50 years, 50 years, to get 7 credit cards in y'all's back pockets. We have no competition, man.
And oh, by the way,
it's just a brief clip where, in the conversation in the documentary, that's about the halfway point where we start talking about, how the government started these mega bailouts in the 70s, when we went off the gold standard. Is this just kind of like an extension of that? Everything you mentioned there, you're talking about, sort of we're seeing this disclosure happen, and Trump's starting to take us out of these deals that don't really have any benefit for America. Certainly NATO doesn't have anything to do with the defense of the United States. And the World Health Organization is one of the emanators of a lot of bad things in terms of global pandemics and so on. The other thing you mentioned is about the social media companies and how they have such a monopoly. I have another documentary. It's not announced yet. It's just that we're going to announce it soon, where we are looking at one of the most infamous elections in recent history, and how the FBI actually got caught basically suppressing, picking and choosing which stories in the media we could see, and putting pressure on Meta, Google, and on Twitter, then Twitter, now X, on controlling what those stories could be, basically telling them, hey, this story is coming, it's not real, even though it was real. So, with all these media channels being manipulated, and with the markets being manipulated, like, how do you suss out like what's true, what's not true, and all the experience you've had? Like, how do you follow your gut instincts on these things?
Great question. Well, I no longer believe anything that comes out of Facebook. When the CEO of the company, who owns controlling interest in the votes, admits in public that he coordinated with divisions of the government. In fact, it would be easier to say who he didn't coordinate with. But when I heard the IRS was sitting in rooms looking at data, I'm like, why would the IRS have access to Facebook's data? Why would the shareholders not know that he was actively working with the US government, maybe some other governments? We don't know. I think that'd be awesome to know. And what was the agenda? But clearly the agenda was to distort the message on COVID, and to distort the message on voting in the 2016 election, I think that was. And who knows what else, maybe immigration. But I didn't think that America was the place where we had companies that pretended to be public, like Visa and MasterCard, but on one phone call, they terminate all usage of Russian credit card use. I mean, this is not real commerce. This is public. This is companies that are doing billions and billions of dollars, controlling marketplaces, pretending to be public, getting astronomical PE multiples. I think Visa, MasterCard, Visa makes a gross operating margin of 51%, and they're over 50 years old, and there's no way you can call Visa a technology company. Okay, they're a transaction company. They're a tollway that gets to see all the transactions on credit card usage, and they take a clip But when I see this, I'm like, well, you guys are all part of the same club, going to the same meetings, doing the same things, getting the blessing by the same lobbyists. Very hard for young companies and innovators to show up in that kind of an environment. So until these people are removed from office, they're cheaters, man, and they know they're cheaters. Okay, when you have to hire lobbyists to protect the margin you're making, and it's 51%, and your gross operating margin is 51%, your Visa. Look, I just think the world is we've met peak consumption. People can only buy so many automobiles. They can only put so much shit on credit cards. Someone laughed at me the other day when I said, you know, I don't think Americans need any more T-shirts. We have met peak demand of T-shirts. I don't need any more jeans or tennis shoes. We have and that's just regular Joes, right, Chris? What about the billionaires? They don't need any more villas, man.
Yeah, right.
Or airplanes. They have so much shit. Now, not many of them have much Bitcoin. I find that interesting. Plenty of them have stink on their hands. We know that. And the reason I say that is when I'm thinking about investing in something and there is a CEO, like I would never invest a penny, even if you offered me 1,000% return with Bob Iger or Disney. Okay, nothing. I see nothing that Disney has done in the last 30 years that is uplifting for humanity when it was in a position to uplift children.
Yeah, and I want to give
credit. It was in the perfect position to actually do good on this planet, and it did nothing but degrade the IQ.
Right. Yeah, I want to give credit where credit is due because you actually had mentioned that, I think, in our original interview some months ago, like, I don't know, it was like September of last year. At the time, I was like, this is sort of left of field. He's talking about Disney right now. And now all this stuff's coming out and it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of what you were talking about, you know, in terms of Disney having some nefarious undertones or whatever in the marketplace. And now the Epstein files are showing some of that stuff. I haven't done the deep dive myself on any of those materials, but you're seeing the market react, Microsoft because of Bill Gates and Disney because of some of the accusations within the Epstein files.
But Jay-Z and Beyonce just lost their contracts. I think Beyonce lost 10 million followers overnight. Jay-Z, I think, lost everybody. So, you know, we have, why do I say that? Oprah Winfrey, all of these people that were leaders, man. Okay, they were, well, let's think of what has America really become? We have become a monarchy of celebrities. Okay, our monarchy, our royal family is celebrities. It's not business people, it's celebrities. Now, Elon's kind of in that thing now. But if you think of England, England has, you know, royalty. Our royalty is celebrities, and they set the tone by which our children and our sports teams and everything happens in the United States. If all of that has been criminalized, pedophiled, I mean, sick kind of stuff, dude, you know, there's no kind of, those people don't come to my house and hang out.
Right.
They know, oh, dude, this guy's not going to play with this. He's boring. So, like, likes attract. Okay, all these people flying around, these moths flying around this fire, I mean, they all attracted to the same flame. We're going to find a lot of people lose their entire fucking careers, man.
Right. Yeah, I saw Nicki Minaj had posted this thing over the weekend, and I was like, oh, this is getting insane. You know, and a lot of these celebrities do have spats, but like to your point, now the Epstein files are showing the underpinnings of this, and these are taking down some of the biggest ones. Not only
that's why I mentioned Me Too, right? Because it's going to become safe to start saying things now.
Right. They're basically opening the doors because you're not the crazy person anymore. Like, for example, I don't have it at my disposal right this second, but I was looking through the Epstein files last night, and you know the whole sickness around the pedophile side. that there was email exchanges between Hillary Clinton and Epstein doing their lunch orders, right? For the code name, oh, I'll take a hot dog, no bun. You can go look that up. Go look up, I'll take a hot dog, no bun in the lunch order. Okay, so why are we emailing this kind of shit? You know, these are millionaires, billionaires. Are we? There's no coincidences in
Dude,
these.
that's a great question, though. Okay, why would they put that on an email? These people are so narcissistic and self-centered. They thought they were invincible. Okay, that's what everyone should look at. Wow, dude, they're putting this shit in writing. That is psychopathic beyond psychopathic. Okay, at least you had it. They thought they were invincible. I think they probably still think they're invincible. Look, we as Americans, we should be sitting here going, hey, Bill Clinton needs to go to jail. He just did not show up for a congressional hearing. If you did that, you would be in jail right now.
Right.
Hillary Clinton should be in jail right now. She did the same thing.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I think it's very interesting they weren't named heavily in this thing. And I'm hoping, dude, I don't think America is going to put up with this. And if it does, oh my God, the real sickness in America is that we have become apathetic. In fact, I think the apathy in America is worse than the pedophilia.
Right. Yeah. There's there's a post I put out that I took from a meme page, which was, it showed the revolution, right? And in the documentary, we talk about the American Revolution kicking off because of the Boston Tea Party, ostensibly a 3% tax on a product, right? A transactional product, tea, which a lot of people consumed at that time. And now here we are sitting what is effectively probably for the average person more like a 60 or 70% tax when you include inflation. And at least you're paying most people 30% plus in income tax. This is and we're just on our phones, we're chilling, you know, and they continue to boil the water. I think California is the great experiment, right? They're talking about putting in the billionaires tax, and people don't realize what that means. That's a non-transactional tax. So think about in 1910 when they passed income tax. Think about it for a moment, that they promised that that would be on only the top income earners. And now who pays the lion's share of the income tax? It's the middle income people of the country. High net people don't pay tax. They leverage their assets. We know that. That's not a secret. And now they're talking about a billionaire's tax, and it's the same false promise as far as I'm concerned. What's really an issue about that is it's a non-transactional tax. So we're going to go do a forensic accounting study of everything you hold. And by the way, if you've been holding your parents' house, or your parents have retired, now that house most likely is probably worth more than $1 million in California, which is not a big deal. Having $1 million house in California is not special. That's like an average house. Okay. And maybe for a lot of places that might be expensive. You might be having to pay a percentage of tax on that. And of course, they always sell it as, well, we're going to hit the billionaires and then we're going to redistribute the wealth and all this stuff. Billionaires are leaving the state. It's killing the local economy. And eventually they're going to roll that down to everybody else, because then that tax won't be there. Those billionaires pay 50% plus of the taxes in California. And now you're driving them out of the state. So what are you going to do? Right. And so I think that this is the slippery slope we're on. California is also looking at the pay by mile tax. Have you heard about that, Gary? That they're looking at charging you for every mile you drive on the road.
Yep.
This stuff is freaking insane. And so I think that it's important that there's parallel or challenges to the standard payment system, because a lot of people are going to be, you know, in a place where they're like, look, I need to try to hold my money somewhere outside of the system. So I want to talk to you now about kind of Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin's taken a big hit over the weekend, as of most crypto has taken a hit. A lot of it's in reaction to some of the Epstein files, you know, that are in there. Again, Epstein admits he's a Rothschild representative, and there's a document in there that's making its circles on X talking about how Epstein was trying to corner some of the Bitcoin developers. So what's your read of that as somebody who's heavy in Bitcoin? The entire market, again, is taking a crash for various reasons across the Epstein files, and also the government is shut down, technically speaking, right now. That's another contributing factor. But what's your thought now that you've seen that? I know that, you know, one of the big claim to fames about Bitcoin is there's no management, it's decentralized, what have you. But there is evidence in the Epstein files that says, well, that they were trying to corner the Bitcoin Foundation, and that they were trying to basically go through and get everybody into this thing called the Media Lab. And here's the piece of the Epstein file that I'm discussing here. But they kind of come down and they say, hey, we need to take control of the developers. We moved quickly, talking to all of the various stakeholders, and the 3 developers decided to join Media Lab, which was some Epstein created thing in MIT. This is a big win for us. And when you look at that, what is your kind of thought? You're seeing the market react. Does it change your position on Bitcoin at all? Or do you feel like, well, it's too big now, and that's, maybe it's a factor in the history, but doesn't change your beliefs in Bitcoin?
Well, it's not. Look, I think that I know an awful lot of people in this space, and this space was not born from purity and the holiness of Jesus Christ. Okay, like there's a bunch of cyberpunks that didn't like the way the system worked, and they were transacting online, doing drugs, dates, whatever, and they decided to come up with a token. I know I'm putting that really, really basic, but this was an experiment. It was most certainly going to happen sooner or later. I mean, I think we're already digitized, quite frankly. You probably don't have any real cash in your pocket. Most people don't. I'm the only guy that carries cash in his pocket anymore, because I still think cash is king in an emergency. It has the highest, if you have proximity, meaning if you and I are really close to each other, US dollars have the most wonderful attributes of transaction value than any other currency, because it's instant, it's non-recourse at that moment. I don't have to open any electronics, and it is anonymous. Look, first off, I'm very careful about how much of this stuff I actually consume and assume is real, because I can't tell the difference between one of these emails that's real and one of them that's fake. So I tend to take a bit of a breather on some of this data. I've always believed the coders were a bit of an issue. This non-core thing that popped up here 6 months ago, it's very, very junior high schoolish. Let me just say this. This is why Bitcoiners and the crypto cyberpunks, and I like most of these people, okay? I mean, I think some of them are a problem, but I like most of the people that are in crypto and value what they do. But this is the reason that crypto is going to be controlled and run by Wall Street. It is going to be, if it's not already controlled and run by Wall Street, because the decentralized nature of you guys does not lend yourself to a command and conquer kind of management process. And so everybody's got an opinion. There's no one has any kind of standards or principles. You have no consistent marketing message. The reason I got excited about Bitcoin was I recognized, wow, it's $600 billion market cap. You guys got here all by yourself with the worst marketing in the world. And I'm like, wow, that's really impressive that y'all didn't even have a marketing department. And you most certainly need one, because the marketing and the communication on this is horrible. Look at this. You have nowhere to go for how to handle bad news. Bitcoin has no place to go, right? No place to go. There's no central risk management team at Bitcoin to go, hey, this is actually what happened. So I would say this is one of look, my sister this weekend, who's 10 years older than me, called me and said, hey, is anything real about Bitcoin and Epstein? She didn't ask me about the price. She didn't ask me about, oh, wow, silver went down 30%. She didn't ask me, hey, nat gas went down 25% today. Look, what are we learning? This is a violent world right now. Okay, for anyone listening that's not a professional investor, and I would suggest that I am, I have never seen this violence before. No one has ever seen this kind of violence before. I don't care how smart they sound on TV or radio, do not care. No one has ever been here We're in totally uncharted territories. So when I look at my options, Christopher, I'm like, well, I guess I could go buy some dollars.
Yeah.
I could sell. It was a rumor. I sold all my Bitcoin because I said, I don't think it gets to 100 before it gets to 75. That was a week ago. I took so much shit for this, but I just look at the momentum. The momentum is weak. But the thesis is never been stronger. It's never been stronger ever. I mean, gold and silver just moved $3.5–4 trillion, twice the size of the market cap of Bitcoin, and it did it in 20 days. Natural gas just dropped 25%. Natural gas is more important in the daily use of humanity than silver and gold. Okay, people will freeze in the winter if you don't have nat gas. And we just dropped 25%. We went up from 380 to near $7 in a week. So we're just seeing a lot of tension in the marketplace. And when I see a product like Bitcoin that gives me characteristics unlike any other asset class, and a multitude of characteristics, not just one, but there's a whole host of characteristics of Bitcoin that I find extremely valuable and extremely, I think, priced incorrectly for the characteristics that it offers me with really long duration. In other words, the characteristics of this product, for me, the ones that I care about, also don't decay over time. And they don't cost me anything over time. Like I don't have to pay every year for a membership fee, like I would if I'm having my bank manage my money. I'm gonna pay them a fee every year, right? Well, I don't. Over 20 years, I'm paying somebody 20 bips. That's 20%, man. Right? So 20%, 10 years, it's 2% of the total volume, right? So I'm probably more bullish I'm probably more comfortable with Bitcoin today. I wouldn't say necessarily more bullish, but it's 70. I picked up 74,699 2 days ago. I mean, I thought that was a great buy. Now, I think we go lower though. And I mean, I'd like to know what you think, but I think getting to 88 from here is hard. Testing 68 is probably necessary. We've tested 88 a bunch of times. It didn't hold there, man. Okay, I don't have to be a chartist. We have tested 100, 126, 102, 104, 92, 98, 90, and now it's 88. And I don't think we go to 98 before hey, let's go test 75 again, see how that held, because it held pretty well.
Right.
We've broken down the 100-day, man. We've broken down every simple moving average, and the next one is the 200-day moving average, and that is 58,000. Which is my entry point. That is my weighted average cost. See, I think you should ask everybody you interview, hey, what is your weighted average cost? Because the way they look at Bitcoin, if you start looking at this, the way a $300 Bitcoiner looks at Bitcoin is very different than the way I look at it. They stop buying, which I find insulting, quite frankly. Okay. And it's like, hey, I have enough Bitcoin. It's like, oh, you have enough Bitcoin, but your entry price is 300 and you're doing nothing with it, man. Why don't you sell it to me for 89 so I can get liquidity in the market? Because that's what this market's missing. The reason gold and silver moved the way they did, and Bitcoin will never do that until it grows up, it's too small, man.
Right. Yeah.
It's tiny. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the other thing that drives me crazy. Not the bad news about crypto. It's the narcissism in crypto. It's the ego, man. It's hey, everything revolves around Bitcoin. Now, dude, you didn't make the silver and gold move because nothing revolves around you yet. Not really. It's a small little gravity field, right? It's cool. We're all in it and we can feel the gravity. But in the real picture, nat gas, oil, they're going to tell us what's going on, okay? I think these prices come down. I'm a big believer in deflation. And deflation, because we have never, ever been here. We have never had technology. I mean, the amount of layoffs that we have seen, 10,000, 16,000, 38,000. I mean, 10 companies, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh, wow. Our manufacturing just went up, blew right through all the numbers. So in order to turn a ship around, you got to start turning the ship around. And I think that's happened under Trump. Okay. Like and I think this is going to happen. If he were to remove income tax and/or capital gains,
Right. Yep.
you would see this country explode with promise, because innovators like me are not going to Italy, dude, or England. All the money just I would literally just reinvest here. And we would have one of the biggest bull markets in the history of mankind. You don't really need to do anything fancy with real estate. Interest rates are coming down. You take away the income tax for people. Okay, maybe you don't take my income tax away. Maybe you say, hey, man, it's flat tax of consumption or a flat tax for everybody. But if you make, $5 million a year, then you pay 12 or whatever. Just do a flat or do a consumption tax. That's what I like. Consumption tax. That controls my consumption.
Exactly. That's again my big warning about the California billionaires tax for the rest of the country.
That's ridiculous, dude.
Because that thing will become the Democratic model, and they always test it here.
But Chris, I think we should support them in doing that. Just like we supported them and gave them no resistance on Mondani. No, because the very few billionaires that are remaining there, they will leave.
Yeah.
And they lost, there's 12,500 wealthy families left the UK last year.
Right.
Someone corrected me online and said, no way, dude. I think I said 8,000. And then I went and got the real data. It's a lot. Okay. So they're either getting ready to be discovered as bad people, or they're like, hey, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I think people are we've had a lot of migration from billionaires already in the California area. I think 22% of all the money in California is already left.
Yeah, I know that the key departures like Larry Page, Peter Thiel, these guys have already left. Those are big names, but there's obviously a lot of, I don't want to call them no-name billionaires because every billionaire is like somewhat prominent, but they're not the ones we can roll off the tip of our tongue.
Dude, me and my brother don't. I used to live there. My brother used to live there. He stayed 5 years longer.
Yeah.
I looked at it and went, there's no way I'm staying here for this weather. This is ridiculously expensive.
Didn't your brother lose his home in Malibu? Yeah.
Well, he didn't lose it yet, but they're making it difficult. But see, so what happens, right? So Elon leaves California. He doesn't just leave California. He invests billions of dollars in Texas.
Yep.
That's the other thing. Hey, they're not buying homes there. We're not flying back there. We're not investing there at all. And you have had every retailer in the country leave California because they can't protect their stores. Their margins are collapsing because there's so much theft. It's a toilet bowl, man. Like the whole thing gets, New York is going to go the same way. And then they'll have an extreme right turn because the pendulum always goes too far. And an engineering guy told me once, he said, Gary, you need to understand pendulums, they swing back all the way. All the way that they push to the right or the left, they go all the way back. I think, and by the way, that would be very consistent with this theory of the fourth turning.
Yep. Yeah.
We swing back into a hyper-conservative, highly disciplined, autocratic, controlled by rule and judge and law, and we get our discipline back.
Yeah. Let me talk about the fourth turning for a second. And Gary, just letting you know that some people in the chat, I've noticed as well, there's a little bit of you sound fine, but you have a little bit of lag on your video, but I can hear you just fine. So cool. Just letting, I don't know what that's about, but I always pay attention when I hear the same people who do not know each other at all. You guys are in different worlds. For Money Disrupted, I interviewed Bitcoiners. I interviewed people in legislation. I interviewed XRP people. I interviewed gold and silver people who don't believe in any crypto at all. And a lot of them say the same thing, that's when I really start to listen. And that's that fourth turning thing you mentioned, that we are in the beginnings of the reset now. And I find it interesting, somebody in the chat said, gold and silver is God's money. uh, might be true, but you're still seeing it play like the rest of the market. I would have believed that up until 5 days ago, that I thought, oh, it's a better store of value, until I saw it get wiped out by the tune of $6 to $7 trillion, which is even bigger than the crypto industry. And then I realized, okay, something more is at play here, because you don't just get $7 trillion wiped off the map if you don't have some sort of inside information, or you don't have some sort of manipulation. And a lot of times they talk about like market rotation, going from Bitcoin to altcoin, or from gold to Bitcoin, or from the cryptocurrencies into the stock market. But that $7 trillion sort of disappeared. We didn't get a stock market boom, or we didn't get some kind of like massive jump in some altcoin. It kind of just evaporated. So where is that money at, in your opinion? Like, when you see $7 trillion disappear, 500 billion dollars from the crypto market disappear, that 6 trillion, which is insane, is from gold and silver. So how did we move $6 and $7 trillion worth of precious metals off the market? It's not a fast transaction. You can't move it like liquid. It's in my pocket, someone says. If it is, like, give it to me. Where are those assets?
You said something really interesting, because you said, hey, it's not a fast transaction. I was speaking to a friend of mine this weekend, monster player. And, if I was going to trade silver or gold right now, I most certainly would not do physical.
Okay.
And this is really different. Now, I have owned physical silver and gold. And if I was buying it for 11 or, 20 years ago, I would have bought physical. But with this kind of volatility, I would only trade paper. Because by the time you get the physical to the market, you could lose 20, 30% of your value. I mean, just like so quickly. The people that are taking the losses are retail. Right? I mean, people are standing in banks trying to get gold out right now all over the place. And so this is a real, they really push this market up. Do I think there's some delivery problems? Yes. Do I think there's suppression? Yes. Do I think there's some big losses in banks? I'm surprised we haven't heard about them yet. There's volatility all over the place, and I think that's the message. NVIDIA last year, 8 months ago, changed value in one day by $250 billion. That never happened any time in history. And then it happened 4 or 5 times to NVIDIA last year. Now, we have stocks now moving $250 billion a day, which is 20% of Bitcoin's, core value. So when people look at Bitcoin and go, hey, it's really violent, well, pull up the silver chart, okay, over the last 6 months. Pull up the gold chart. Pull up the Nat Gas chart. Oh, Mr. Nat Gas moved. Nat Gas today is down below $4. It has collapsed 29.78%. Okay, in the last, day. So we have volatility everywhere because supply and demand I think they've been disrupted because of this global market we're moving to. And I think this is going to be awesome for America because it's going to bring things back here. We're going to be the center of everything, both consumption and demand. Production and demand. Because our demand of local products is going to increase, right? And our production of exports should increase. In particular, as everyone's complaining, our dollar is getting hammered. Well, a weak dollar is great for manufacturing. Would you prefer to do business, go build a facility in the UK if you want to build one there? No one is investing $1 in the UK or Europe right now. Yeah, not at the premium and all the regulations. Not a chance.
Yeah, I have seen openly that Trump talked about, liking a weak dollar. And there's a couple different things or reasons why that might be. And we discussed that late in the documentary about the revaluation of the treasury, gold holdings, which if you have a weaker dollar, that pushes precious metals up. It also pushes Bitcoin up and the crypto market up. So this new Fed chairman coming in, pushing lower rates ultimately drives inflation, but it also drives asset costs up. It drives, gold up. It drives Bitcoin up. It ultimately drives all of the cryptos up because you're putting more cheap money in the ecosystem. It also allows you to transact on the national or in the international scale in a cheaper way, right? And I think that you'll see that inverse over time. There's some short-term pain, and I think Trump had said that before he even got elected. There's going to be short-term pain until there's long-term gains. But I think the takeaway for the average person, and I try to leave people with this, is that the people who hold assets are the ones that are going to benefit from, that dollar weakening. But if you're not holding assets, if you're sitting on a mountain of cash, that ultimately that cash will be devalued, right? Those assets will be your cash holdings, your bank account, or whatever will get devalued. Which most of us, anybody watching this, we're all either holding some kind of asset. There might be some gold people in the chat. There might be some Bitcoiners, or whatever asset you're holding, XRP. A lot of people are holding different assets, but I think we're holding as a hedge against the inflation. So is that your read? Is like, if we go, is your read of the situation? You think Trump's going to like a weaker dollar, is going to create more money because that weakens the dollar. It allows us to do more trade internationally. And then it also pushes the assets on the balance sheet in the treasury, soon to be hopefully our sovereignty fund, plus, any gold holdings that we have, or hopefully that we have, up to kind of offset the national debt. Like basically you're devaluing, you are adding inflation, but you're also devaluing the existing debt.
Well, there's a lot in there. I think a weak dollar, we use words like weak dollar. Well, weak against what? Because
True.
I don't want any UK pound sterling notes. Thank you. They supposedly traded a premium to the UK. To the US. I don't want any, don't understand why they get a 6% premium. I think Europe gets a 12 or 18% premium. So I most certainly don't want to be long euros. So this weak dollar thing is, weak means it's inferior. No, it just means that I'm going to be able to manufacture cheaper than the UK. If I have a super strong dollar, what's it super strong against?
Right.
So, and is there really any relationship to it? Now, maybe gold's showing us, oh, wow, the dollar's crap. Well, it can't be the dollar's crap and there's a supply problem. It's one or the other. Oh, silver, we've run out of silver. I don't believe that we've run out of silver, okay? The problem with resource commodities, and I spent my whole life in resource commodities, is that unlike digital, unlike Bitcoin, not XRP, but Bitcoin, at a price, resources will get drilled, found, discovered, built in a laboratory, if necessary, as the price goes up, and then they get oversupplied and the price gets crushed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the truth of resource commodities. That's why crude oil will never, ever see $100 sustained price, ever. Because you produce planet Earth for $100, man. You make a 35% return at $100 crude oil every day, all day, and you're never going to find a dry hole. And that's the piece that people are forgetting. Okay, we have not heard of a dry hole in oil in a decade.
Right. Yeah.
A drilling platform drills 12 wells now. It used to drill one. My brother showed up in a Tesla the other day. He's had, Mercedes-Benz and Daimlers and all these great cars. He shows up in a Tesla and says, dude, this thing's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to drive. He's not going to get a ticket. That's where we're headed, man. We're headed to a technological world. And I find it really fascinating that the old guys, me, seem to get more comfortable with this technological transformation than the younger people. Like, I'm very comfortable with this transition. This is going to be awesome for humanity. It's going to also offer young people, 22 years old. You know, I was hammering a guy the other day. He was like, man, everything's too expensive. My life's terrible. I'm 22 years old. I don't have the chances you have. And I'm like, dude, you can get an MBA for free today.
Yeah.
For free. Okay. You can go to Stanford right now and sign up for an AI class. I never was able to do that, dude. I had to waste 4 years of my life to hear bullshit in a school.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really promising. You know, I think robots are going to be a really, really, really big thing. Since no one likes their job, they'll just all get replaced with robots, and the robots will do an excellent job at what they're programmed to do, and they won't complain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the biggest revolution, right? On the horizon line is what I would call physical AI, right? It's the actual ability for artificial intelligence to, you know, do productive things in the real world. We're already seeing the disruption in the digital world, especially on things, you can forget about accountants, you can forget about lawyers, you can forget about, you know, even some social media content, and there's a lot of AI slop moving out there. But as a creator, and I use AI quite a bit in the documentary, I find it very powerful for me to have a tool now where I can generate stuff at a fraction of the cost. And as an entrepreneur, I find it very exciting that you can have a couple of AI, you know, tools that help you build, you know, a marketing plan or whatever, engagement strategies, or you name it. But when that AI enters the physical space, when we get an actual Optimus robot that's physically, you know, doing labor, Amazon has a stated goal of reducing their workforce by 500,000. When they say their workforce, they mean, you know, Amazon Logistics, the factory side of things, having these cars drive up to your house and then having a robot walk up and deliver the package. And I think that Optimus will probably be the biggest surface since the iPhone, right? The iPhone brought us the app ecosystem. Before that, the internet brought us a marketplace. You talk about that in the documentary, that the internet is a marketplace. I believe that Optimus is a marketplace, or will be. You'll have the Gordon Ramsay subscription operating in your kitchen. You'll have the, you know, the cocktail making best, you know, drink making robot. You'll have potentially the friend side of things, right? It'll be your friend. It'll hang out with you, whatever. There's just so many things that that platform will bring. And while you're talking about that, I do want to show a clip of you talking about in the middle of the documentary. You know, you mentioned the fourth turning earlier. During the second turning from the 60s to the 70s, we started transitioning the dollar from gold to oil. So here's a little conversation about that, about, you know, halfway through the documentary or so.
Was planning to send a very substantial force into the Mideast, a military force.
The US dollar was moved from the gold standard, and that's when the era of the petrodollar began, to serve the interest of those who fund them or those who control them, have put policies in place that harm everyday average working Americans.
OPEC was designed in the 70s. It now has 3 different transitions. They cheat all the time. Okay. Sanction on a barrel of crude oil goes to Spain from Russia, it gets put on another label, then it's sent to India for a $30 discount. This has happened for 50 years. You can't stop energy.
So I know that energy is a big part of, you know, your conversation. I remember, you know, Trump talking about drill baby drill. So I guess, like, maybe to close us out in this stream, last topic is, you know, just about your read on the energy sector as we move forward. As you mentioned earlier, you know, these single oil platforms are now starting to have 12 different, you know, drilling sections instead of one. You know, what do you think is the future of energy? Is this really an energy race for us versus China, since China, going back to something you said earlier, is out producing us energy wise? And since we're going to be building all these AI, huge data centers, this is kind of why I'm kind of bullish on the possible merger between XAI and SpaceX as a space server company, being able to build massive server farms in space to have infinite energy. But energy is the key, and it's the key also to Bitcoin. Energy is money, and energy is what provides a lot of Bitcoin's value. So kind of to tie it all together, what's your read of the energy sector as we move forward in the next few years? And, what do you see, the United States position in that?
Well, I don't really think we're in a race with China. We've already won the energy race. It's really ours to completely screw up here. We are dense in energy resources. It's like Canada. Canada will end up being a part of America. Mexico will end up being a part of America. South America will end up being a part of America, and Greenland. Now, why are we doing all that? It makes total sense why we're doing that. One, these countries are not prospering, being disconnected from a centralized environment. This will irritate some people in this world of, hey, we need decentralized. But the only problem with centralization is the guy at the top ends up being a criminal. But centralization is actually very, very efficient. I think I can prove it. We're using something that neither one of us owns so that we can be centralized and then connect a bunch of people. This is our hub, StreamYard. And then we get to connect all these little virtual pipes, X, Rumble, LinkedIn, whatever. However people are watching this, you and I split a feed. Imagine if I would have said that we were going to be doing this 70 years ago, 50 years ago, that you and I could communicate in almost real time, that the feeds would be near CNN quality for $300.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Like now I believe that in 10 years, we're going to be even more advanced.
Oh yeah.
So is that going to be real clunky? And hey, I'm going to send you an invoice and an NDA and the paper's moving. Remember when the paper boys came and hey, we're going to remove all your paper? Well, we have not actually gotten to that point yet where we've really digitized all this. I mean, I'm hearing experts talk about 80 gigawatts of energy demand in the United States. That is insane, okay? All of that's going to fail because you cannot show up with energy that fast. But we have it all. Now we have to connect it, put it together, and decide that energy is going to be the dollar of the future. I think it's the real, because there is no Bitcoin, there is no AI, there is no data centers without energy. And if you're listening to the really smart money, it's all going to move into outer space, man.
That's what I was talking about with it.
I'm with you, dude.
Yeah.
Why? Because it has to. It's getting too expensive now. You need so much of it. And by the way, the world cannot handle that. The world cannot handle tennis shoes going from $25 to $100. Tennis shoes need to go to $2. And I'm convinced we're into a massive deflationary period where, by the way, you talked about assets. I would not be buying a house. Okay. That is not an asset. Not all assets are going to be the same now.
Never said that was an asset. Yeah.
XRP and Bitcoin, these are very, very different assets.
Yeah.
Okay. And not to pick on them, but this quality microphone shouldn't be compared to what Anderson Cooper uses.
Right. Absolutely.
They're different, man.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
His is never going to fail, but I'm not going to spend $8,000 on it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. I can deal with some failure with my money. Like I need to understand the risk of all this. And the reason I brought up the XRPs of the world, like I don't know why anyone would go do this because we have adoption. I mean, we barely have adoption at Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
only like what, sub 2% asset holdings or something?
Yeah, dude, I think that is what it is, 2%. That means there's only 10 million people in Bitcoin, really. Because there's only 500 million investors on planet Earth. See, everybody goes, 8 billion people. There's not 8 billion people investing money, man.
No.
There's half a billion people. 2% of that, that's $10 million, 10 million people with $4,444 in Bitcoin. That's what the average is. Now, you have more than that, and I have more than that. But when you do that math, you're like, wow, there was a time when there was only 10 million Amazon users. And there was only 10 million people doing AOL dial-up. And now we have 10 million people a second a microsecond using the internet. And it's gotten better, and it's gotten cheaper, by the way. Like, we ain't going back to not free. You're going to go past not free.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go past free. I mean, free is going to be a deal. I hate free, by the way, because free traps people. Like, but until humans are willing to send $1 to you for your efforts, you're going to have some kind of support. And this. I think humanity should start looking at how they're transacting and who they're feeding, because you talk about the Epstein stuff. I mean, everyone this weekend should have done a list of, hey, who are you in bed with, dude? I mean, this weekend should have made it clear to you that, hey, you might want to even check the people you're doing podcasts with. Okay. I mean, we have some really famous people that have been hanging out with people doing podcasts that, you know, they get discovered in the Epstein files. Now, like, this is going to become really important. Like, what is the quality and the character of a human being? I hope that's true, Christopher, because if not, that means that all this noise is going to get swept right under the rug. No one's going to care if Harvey Weinstein does another movie, and they're going to go to the movie and they're going to spend money with Harvey Weinstein. And it's like, I can't do that. So if you're a Bitcoiner and you're a good person, I think everybody needs to look at the list and go, hey, am I really going to Disney? Am I really going to do business with Jamie Dimon and his entire committee? Like, that is supporting these people. And we have the ability to boycott.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a violent revolution, dude. Stop fucking spending money with these people, period. Make it inconvenient for yourself. But it takes 90 days to kill these people. They have quarterly earnings, dude. 90 days. You destroy them. LinkedIn, I'm killing my account this afternoon. Okay. I'll never broadcast there again. It's run by a psychopath, man.
Because of Microsoft's connection, you're saying?
Well, no, because of Reid Hoffman, the CEO.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is not a good guy. So, like, I'm going to assume his board is a bad group of people, because that board would never have me. They would never have me. They're going, oh, shit, Gary's going to talk shit. Yeah, I am. If you got shit on your face, I'm going to go, hey, man, might want to move that shit off your nose, right? Oh, there's nothing there. Oh, yes, there is. So
we're looking at this, you know, we've had extreme volatility, right? $7 trillion moved out of precious metals. We had $500 billion moved out of crypto last week. And that was even prior. Maybe that was just insiders who knew the Epstein files were launching on Friday. But then the market, you know, the stock market's obviously frozen over the weekend, but then now those stocks, as you mentioned, Microsoft, Disney, others are down today because of their reaction to the Epstein file. But it can't be ignored that the Bitcoin developers and Media Lab and all this other stuff is also in the Epstein files. So it feels like there's, you know, a lot of roads back to these major money players. You mentioned Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon's mentioned in the Epstein files that they were like, hey, can we get somebody to go talk to, you know, Jamie Dimon to get him to stop battling the crypto sector? And, you know, Jamie Dimon's always been anti-Bitcoin. He's kind of now pivoted to pro-blockchain, but he's anti-Bitcoin. So leave us with
he's going now. It doesn't matter what he does. So
yeah, well, leave us with this. I mean, I know you don't want to read too much into all those things, but you know, with Bitcoin coming up and you know, Epstein mentioning, you know, the Bitcoin developers, the Media Lab, and all that. Yeah, and obviously Wall Street moved into Bitcoin with the ETFs in 2024. So do you think we're going to go test those new lows, like you said, and then this whole thing is going to blow over and we're going to move past it? Investor confidence going to increase because of the way the algorithm is, or are you now concerned about anything in across this market because of these revelations?
The revelations, if we have revelations, the revelations don't surprise me. And look, when I first came into Bitcoin, I was like, hey, this is probably a CIA operation, right? This is probably, you know, some couple of dorks did not just come up with this. And I was okay with that. And the reason I got okay with that, CIA runs everything. If the CIA doesn't want me to have a credit card, I'm pretty sure they know who to call to cut the credit cards off. So I'm probably less worried about my investment than Bitcoin than I am in my residency in the United States. quite frankly, because this is still the safest place in the world to be an entrepreneur and to be rich and to have a voice. It's also the safest place to be poor and still have a voice. So I don't worry about all this. Like, human beings are corruptible. The reason I like Bitcoin so much is I think the code is not corruptible. Okay. And the truth is, I'm not a coder, so I don't know, but I'm just a really simple guy. For instance, like when I first got my first ledger, I'm like, I have no clue what's in this device.
Right.
It could blow my head off.
Yeah,
5 years ago, I said that. I also don't know if this device is going to work 30 years from now. So I question a lot of things. I think Bitcoin at 7, look, I'll buy as much of this shit between 57 and 75 that you'll sell me. And I think it's the missold or the poorly sold story about Bitcoin. You get plenty of opportunities to buy Bitcoin at really low prices. You do not need to rush into this fucking thing. I've rushed in too hard. I have not made a lot of mistakes, but if you missed 88, just be patient. Set your numbers. Who's winning? The guys that set their numbers at 75, 72, and 68, and we go on holiday or we go back to work and we either get hit or we don't. But we're not chasing. We're not, oh, wow, it's 100. I got to jump in front of this thing and buy 30 Bitcoin for 102. Like, we're not doing that. People are laughing at Saylor because he's buying at the market. That's fine. That's good. That's the right thing to do. This is still the best business I can build. I think I shared this with you. Like, all I've ever done since I was 22 is build businesses that take 12 years to monetize.
Yes, you did tell me that. Yep.
Dude, I have no employees. I have no employees that can get corrupted by P. Diddy or go on drugs or get a chick pregnant or rape a girl, much less that, or a boy. And then it comes back and flashes on me.
Right.
A man wanted to pitch a deal to me the other day, and he sent me an NDA. I'm like, hey, I'm out, dude. He's like, well, you haven't even looked at the deal. I said, yeah, I don't want to read the NDA. I don't have an NDA with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I have no legal issues with Bitcoin. This is a once in a century opportunity. Hey, by the way, I have risk in XRP that I don't have with Bitcoin. I just have to mention that, okay? There's human beings involved in XRP that hold a shitload of tokens, and also Solana and also Ethereum. And I don't have that in Bitcoin. I don't have that exposure of somebody going, hey, now I have some whales out there that could dump, and I think they have been dumping. And cool, I'm cool with them dumping. I hope they get 3 million coins out in the market out of these $300 coin hands. I think those guys are the biggest problem to Bitcoin. They're sitting on 1,000 coins in their little hotel rooms or their, units in New York. They're podcasting. They've got a shitload of money, but they're not reinvesting in Bitcoin. And they're just hoping for the number to go up so they never have to work again. And they're not leaning on their Bitcoin. They're not borrowing against their Bitcoin. They're not building. In fact, they launch tokens. They're disgusting. And then people like me and my brother and other guys are coming in here. I mean, dude, we get nervous when we hear some of you guys. Like, I'm like, fuck, it's not the Epstein stuff. It's how y'all treat each other. Like, you never see Chevron writing a letter to the Wall Street Journal about Exxon's Valdez oil spill, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They shut the fuck up, man. They don't piss on their industry.
Right.
Here we got, the guy that's doing Tron pissing on Trump pissing on this guy, CZ pissing on this guy. It's like, dude, you guys need to grow up. It's an immaturity. But that's what comes with a market that is this old. It's 17, behaving like it.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're still, I think I remind people that too. Like, we're still barely anywhere, right? The banking industry is still doing everything it can to battle the Clarity Act because they realized they fucked up when they allowed the Genius Act to be passed with stablecoin yields attached. And then the Treasury, the federal branch out of Kansas City, was basically like, this is going to cost the banking industry something astronomical per year in losses because the banks make all that, play that game of making money off the treasury bond yields, and offering those yields to customers would be a free market maneuver, but the banking industry didn't like that. So it's been held up in the banking committee and the agriculture committee.
See, the way you pitch that to Trump is you go, hey, dude, the money would be reinvested.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
like really, it would be. It would be reinvested. It would be buying homes. It would be buying businesses.
Trump understands that. I think, I mean, that's why he just did a 49% stake in World Liberty Financial with the Saudis or with the Dubai Sovereign Wealth Fund, one of those funds over there. So, I mean, he's always, what I appreciate about Trump is he's unlike like Nancy Pelosi, who just lies to the public and says, oh, you know, she's the greatest inside trader of all time. Trump at least tells you what he's holding, right? He's like, well, I'm holding these cryptos and I'm holding these other things. He's a big real estate guy. You know, he tells you what he's holding, but, and you know, then the laws will come, you know, and that's kind of beneficial as a person holding those assets. But Gary, I know you're probably short on time. So,
well, I have one question for you though. First, it's a softball question. When's the movie coming out, man? Money Disrupted.
Yeah, Money Disrupted comes out. Yep, comes out.
It stars Gary Cardone. I have a little blurb in there.
It does, yeah. So Money Disrupted comes out February 19th. It'll be on our website, and then we will later launch it on Amazon. I'm editing it up to the last second here because all of these revelations on the Epstein side and other places give me lots of food for thought in terms of, you know, how do we really, what the genesis of the documentary is about is reminding everyone of how the United States dollar got to this fiat mess and how blockchain is going to help us get out of it, and what are the maneuvers we see happening into the future. So it's both history and possible future of where we're going here on America 250, what we want to see in terms of the United States moving back to an asset-backed economy, and also as a free market principle, having competing currencies, having Bitcoin there as an available way to transact, in addition to seeing the United States dollar move back to more of an asset-backed environment, be it with gold bonds or other things. So Money Disrupted launches on Feb 19, and we could close it out with, if you have no other thoughts, I could close it out with a trailer for Money Disrupted. Please support us. I'm an independent producer. I am single-handedly editing this thing on this computer right here. Gary's there, Ron Paul, Robert Kiyosaki. I talked to Lawrence Lepard, who's the author of The Big Print. Talked to lots of people in the community who are strong, you know, sound money advocates, and also advocating for the future of
who was your favorite star that gave you a great performance?
I mean, Gary was a
no, I didn't mean it that way.
This guy named Gary Cardone wasn't paid for that. You know, I think that is obviously a treat to talk to Ron Paul, because he's sort of, you know, the rock star of libertarian values of yesteryear. I think, you know, frankly, I was surprised, but maybe because of his age, like Ron was just basically like, you know, this is the disclosure of the deep state. And really, this is what it is. It's the lobbyists going to Washington, propping up fake candidates, and then soaking the United States for all the money it can get out of it. You know, in fact, for him to just blatantly say that, that was pretty cool. And I really enjoyed talking to Lawrence Lepard, who, if you haven't read The Big Print, if you're not familiar with Lawrence's work, he really gives you he's kind of a more contemporary version of G. Edward Griffin, who wrote The Creature of Jekyll Island. I did interview G. Edward Griffin as well. We put out a free chapter that talks about the formation of the Federal Reserve. But Lawrence Lepard wrote a book, The Big Print, which really discusses how we got to this fiat mess, and it serves as a great backbone of what the entire documentary is about. All the historical components, from, you know, the first two central banks in America to the 1907 crash, goes into, you know, how we got the Federal Reserve formed with the Rockefellers and J.P. Morgan, Chase, and ultimately the Rothschilds all participated in the formation of our central bank as a lender of last resort. And then that goes into the rest of the history up till today in the blockchain. So Lawrence's book is one of the only books I've seen where it takes that historical look, but also takes the forward look in terms of how Bitcoin and blockchain is the challenge to that fiat system, because he takes us all the way to today with recommendations and policy. And that's what I try to leave people with at the end of the day, is recommendations both in terms of what they can do for themselves, and also recommendations in terms of what to watch out for in politics, right? Voting for sound money advocates and avoiding the dangers of socialist programs, free, free, free. We're going to give you everything, which is really just, infinite money printing glitch. So anyways, Money Disrupted documentary feature film comes out, and it's on our website. And I appreciate anybody who purchases it, because we're not backed by a major studio. It's just my wife and I producing this film, all these incredible people lending their voices to it. I'm just trying to package history in an entertaining and enlightening way for the audience to understand the monetary crimes that have been committed against the American people, the military industrial complex, and the waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government.
It's awesome. You guys should go out and buy spend some money on the documentary. It'd be good flow. He's a good guy. So thank you very much, Christopher. Appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate that. So for those watching, we're just going to end with the trailer here, and then the stream will end. So thank you so much.
You will find the heart of America here.
The decline of American manufacturing jobs is a serious concern, as many companies choose to move their operations overseas.
How did this dramatic income inequality happen on such a wide scale?
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
The U.S. came off the gold standard August 15th, 1971, when Nixon closed the gold window. Since then, we've had floating exchange rates with the rest of the world.
The majority of Americans don't make enough money to cover some of the basic costs of living.
Every day is a struggle for me, but I still have to worry about where my next meal is coming from.
Even eggs has gone up to $5 or $6 per dozen.
It all began in November of 1910. The Federal Reserve System was conceived. But all these years, we've had something which most people have thought was a government operation of some kind or another.
It's not. What is it? It's a cartel.
There's been massive money creation in the U.S. When they create a lot of money, that devalues our buying power. And this has gone on to such an extent that 40% of all the money that's in existence in the U.S. dollar was now created since the pandemic.
Here you go, guys. Let's play central bank, because it's even easier than what I'm showing you. Originally, when we were on a gold standard, gold and silver were actually the money.
The only way we get out of the rat race of inflation and endless money printing and debt slavery is to return to sound money principles.
Bitcoin's now 16 years old. It's never been hacked. It's an extraordinary invention.
This is just the beginning. A new era of financial freedom where individuals can control their own money.
As you know, I was a skeptic.
Yes!
I believe Bitcoin is legitimate.
I'm a believer in stablecoin, a believer in blockchain.
I think crypto trading is going to become the infrastructure layer behind real world assets.
We have to go back to sound money. We have to get our balance sheet in order. We have to stop irresponsible spending money.
There's so many innovative technologies coming in, cryptocurrency, AI technology. What we should be doing is studying how to become an investor in those types of markets and those assets.
When I was in Zimbabwe, it collapsed, and these young kids come up with their AK-47s. And it's about taking your money. So when this collapsed, law and order collapsed. It's coming to America.
The rising cost of food is driving an affordability crisis.
Crime on the rise.
The rise in crime.
We have a pandemic of lawlessness.
And the Fed.
End the Fed.
We want to end the Fed.
And the Fed, let's go.
End the Fed.
End the Fed.